Is there anybody there? I was hoping to have a discussion, but doesn't look like anyone joined the live stream, unfortunately. Is anyone there? Canada has been a screwed up country for a long time. And it's time that America really needs to save Canada, please. America needs to save Canada. Americans, please, you need to save Canada. Hello, Americans, please. America. Bartonius. Hello, welcome to live stream, Bartonius. America needs to make Canada the 51st state. Canadians, conservative Canadians, we are tired of all of the stuff that goes on in Canada that Americans don't even know about. There's way more things that go on in Canada that Americans do not know about. And conservative Canadians, we are tired of this and we want America to make Canada the 51st state. Trump said he was going to do it and he still hasn't done it. And before Trump said he was going to make Canada the 51st state, we had been asking the United States to save Canada for years. This is this has been this has been going on for years. We've been trying to get the United States to save Canada, rescue Canada from the crazy liberals and all of the stuff that they do. So, yeah, I speak. I'm a conservative Canadian. There's not many of us. So the liberal government, the Canadian liberals, the weirdos, the nut jobs, they control Canada. They are the majority, unfortunately. I am not part of them. I am a conservative Canadian. There are conservative Canadians. We're like probably what, 30%? It's like 30% conservative, 70% liberals, crazy liberals. So of course, the crazy liberals, because they got the numbers, they got more people, they got more weirdos. The weirdos, they control the government because they have more votes. The weirdos, the transvestites, they got more votes, so they control the government. So we are powerless in Canada, the conservative Canadians. It has gotten so bad in Canada, especially after what was done to me all these years, that I almost, actually, I did. I picked up and I went to the United States for a few months, but I could only afford to live in like a poor neighborhood. So it wasn't good because Canada, they destroyed my life. Like, I tried coming forward, like as a conservative Canadian, I tried blowing the whistle before on the government of Canada. And then the government of Canada, if you call out the crazy liberals, if you call out the transvestite school teachers, if you call them out, if you challenge them, if you disagree with them, they destroy your life. You can't get a job. They blacklist you from employment. So my whole life was destroyed because I was my conservative values, because I'm conservative Canadian. My whole life was destroyed. And thank God I had got a job at the bookstore finally. I have a job with a conservative bookstore owner who doesn't she also does not agree with all of this crap that goes on in Canada. So thank God I do have a job now, but before I was completely broke, I was homeless, and I had temporarily went to the United States, but unfortunately I went to a Democrat state because I didn't know better. I should have gone to like far south. And I'm even considering going to Russia. Like I'm even considering leaving Canada altogether. It's bad. Canada is bad, and I've been abused all my life. They stole my money. I was tasered. I was pepper sprayed. I was beaten. I was touched inappropriately many times. And I'm a severe victim of so many things, and I'm not on here. There's no Cash App. There's no, I'm not naming anybody specific, although I can name specific names. I'm not doing it. What I'm asking right now, like I've done it before, obviously I've named people, but I haven't, there's no Cash App, there's no, like, it's bad enough to be a victim, but then for people to call you a liar, that's what they do is they call you crazy. See, the transvestite school teachers, the transvestite police officers, the transvestite politicians, they call the victims crazy liars. All of these victims that come forward in Canada, they're called crazy liars. And it hurts not only to be a victim, but then to be called crazy, be called a liar. It hurts. Like it's really bad. So what I'm saying is there's no personal financial gain for me doing this right now. This isn't connected to a Cash App. I want the United States to take over Canada. I want the United States to make Canada the 51st state. There was no, I'm not doing this for some kind of financial gain, even though I lost all my money. They robbed me. They stole my money. The liberal Canadians, they stole my money. The transvestite, the weirdos, the nut jobs. I'm basically living paycheck to paycheck. Thank God I have my employer, she owns a bookstore and she gave me a job. But if I didn't have her, I'd be on the street right now if I didn't have her. Like, and I was actually homeless for a few years before that, before I got the job at the bookstore. So like what I'm saying is this is not like a fake story. This is not some ploy to fill up a Cash App to, this is real. This we have been suffering for years. Conservative Canadians have been suffering for years. I was touched inappropriately. I was pepper sprayed. I was beaten. I was tasered. I was like, and because the Canadian police, they're transvestites, they're pedos, they're weirdos. Canadian police officers, every pedo became a Canadian cop. Every pedo became a Canadian police officer. Every pedo became a Canadian school teacher. Every pedo became a Canadian politician. As you can see, the Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, is posing with these people. Like it's a whole gang of them. It's a whole gang. It's not one. Like it's a whole gang of them. They like it's a whole gang of liberal, transvestite, weirdo, pedo, and as you can see in the United States, it's even in the United States, they have a whole Epstein list, they have a whole Diddy list. So they all became politicians, all the pedos, they all became politicians, they became cops, the pedos became teachers, like so we need the conservative Americans and conservative Canadians to rise up. But conservative Canadians, we do not have Canada. Canada has been anti-gun for like as long far as I can remember. The transvestites police officers, they don't allow Canadians to have guns to defend ourselves. So we are powerless almost. Like we cannot, and we are outnumbered. We are outnumbered. Conservative Canadians, we're outnumbered. We don't have protection. We don't have defense weapons. So we need America. We need the conservative Americans to finally arrest these people because pedo police officers don't arrest themselves. Canadian pedo police officers don't arrest themselves. Transvestite pedo school teachers don't arrest themselves. These people don't arrest themselves. Okay. So like I don't know how much I can keep. Like I keep saying this. I've been saying this for years. Why do you think Trump, where do you think Trump got the idea to make Canada the 51st state? It didn't just pop into his head. Canadians, conservative Canadians, we've been sending evidence to the White House. We have sent news articles. We've sent evidence to the White House. Conservative Canadians, we've been contacting the White House for years. So this whole idea about Trump making Canada the 51st state, this didn't just pop in his head and then he just popped in his head overnight and then he just said it the next day. No, conservative Canadians, we have showed receipts. We have brought receipts, evidence, news articles, witnesses, times, dates, people, victims. We have showed this to the American White House for years. But of course, not everyone in the American White House, as you can see, is a normal person. Not everyone in the White House is a normal person, as you can see. There's a lot of sickos, the Epstein list, there's the Diddy list. So of course, America has its the problems too. So I don't know what the solution is at this point, but something's got to be done. Like there's been so many victims and there's so many times and stories and dates of things in the news that like I can bring up 20 news articles and you're gonna be like, whoa, like the government of Canada needs to be arrested. For example, I'll name two other news articles. So there was a whole case. This is on the news, on the Canadian news, but of course the Canadian media didn't report it like every other, story. And Colonel Russell Williams was the military commander of all of Canada. And you don't get to be the military commander of all of Canada for 20 years unless, people knew who he was. They knew his character. This is all. So, anyways, Colonel Russell Williams turned out to be a rapist and a serial killer. And he was a Canadian military commander of all of Canada for 20 years. And the victims told the Canadian police many times that Colonel Russell Williams was the predator. But of course, the Canadian police are also predators. The Canadian police are pedos and predators. So they protected their buddy, military buddy, Colonel Russell Williams for 20 years. And the victims actually sued not only Colonel Russell Williams, not only the Canadian military for the cover up, but the victims also sued the Canadian police because the Canadian police, while they're busy looking for suspicious brothers, if there's a suspicious brother acting suspicious in the white neighborhood, then of course 20 police cars will go, 20 Canadian police cars. But they have friggin' weirdo transvestite pedos. They have rapists. They have like all of these murderers. And the Canadian police know about it and they do nothing. And real victims will call the Canadian police complaining, why aren't you arresting this guy? Everyone knows it's him doing it. And the Canadian police were sued. The victims sued the Canadian. It's the news articles are in on Canadian news. If you search Russell Williams victims sues police, Laurie Massacott sues police, Canadian police. Victims of Colonel Russell Williams sues Canadian police, Ontario Provincial Police. If you just Google searches, you can find the articles. The victims sued the Canadian police because the Canadian police are in on it. The Canadian police are pedos. The Canadian police are rapists. The Canadian police are murderers. And for 20 years, they protected Colonel Russell Williams, another rapist, pedo, transvestite, nut job. And by the way, Colonel Russell Williams, they found the pictures. He was also another one of those transvestite nut jobs. He wore women's clothes on behind closed doors. He would steal women's clothes and wear them. There's pictures. But of course, when he went to the military job, he didn't do that at the military job like in people's faces, obviously. He didn't go to the military job every day and dress up like a transvestite. Okay. But like on his spare time, he like stole women's clothes and he raped women and he murdered women and he dressed up like a transvestite. Like these people are sick. These people are sickos. So there's many news articles about many different incidents, and this is just stuff you know about. There's stuff that doesn't even make the news. There is stuff that doesn't even make the news. There are victims and people. I've been a victim. I've been a victim. You don't even know what they did to me. I've been a victim. There's been so many Canadian victims, and most Canadian victim stories don't even make the news at all. So, like, there's been so much stuff that has gone on, so much. And these private investigators in America, I tried calling a lot of these private investigators in America, and you could tell that they're in on it. They're like, I called literally a private investigation firm that specializes in this kind of thing, these kind of accusations. I called them, and it was a woman, and she said, "Do you have any like slam dunk evidence?" I said, "Well, before we even get to that point, can I ask, are you not a private investigator? Do you like, you know?" And then she said, "Well, if you have any slam dunk evidence, and I want your originals," she said. She wants my original copies. I'm like, no, I don't feel comfortable giving my original copies of the evidence just yet. I will give you a copy of it. You can review it and then get back to me. And she said, no, no, no. The way we work is we need your original copies and make sure you give us all of the I couldn't even believe she was saying this to me. I'm like, no, thank you. I think I'm going to hold on to my evidence. And I was more than happy to give you a copy of the evidence, but I'm not going to give you the originals. No, I don't think so. This was a woman who has a firm, a private investigation firm, who specializes in these kind of accusations. And I said, I have evidence. There's news articles, there's dates, there's times, there's other things, there's circumstantial evidence. I also have real, like, hardcore evidence, and there's also circumstantial evidence. There's all types of evidence. I said, and then you know what she said too? She said, listen, she said, these people, those people that you're talking about, like the transvestite school teachers, she said they deserve due process. I'm like, okay, first off, I didn't say that they didn't, but I also am telling you that I actually, as a conservative Canadian, when I went to go report what these people were doing, I wasn't given due process as a conservative Canadian. I was beaten and tasered and pepper sprayed by these transvestite Canadian police officers. They pepper sprayed me, they tasered me, they beat me, they attacked me, and I was never given due process. But how come this American private investigator who specializes in these kind of accusations, she is so quick to defend these transvestite school teachers? So that's how you know that a lot of these people are corrupt. They're in on it. So she obviously became a private investigator to defend and cover up for these transvestite weirdo nut jobs. Which, by the way, there's a lot of women that do all of this gender ideology stuff in schools. It's being taught by women. And there's a lot more women. It's not just men. There's bad men and there's bad women too. And these women, they walk around like, oh, they're women, so they're innocent. Because they're female means they're innocent. No, there's bad women and there's bad people in both genders. There's bad men and there's bad women. And all of these women, there's all these female school teachers being charged now suddenly, and they've been pushing this gender ideology stuff. Like, who's pushing all of this gender ideology stuff? Who is trying to convince, like, it's a lot of it's times it's women. There's actually YouTube videos of female teachers being confronted. There was YouTube videos of fathers going into the school saying to the female school teacher, "Why did you suddenly start talking to the kids about this topic? You're supposed to teach math. You're supposed to teach English. You're supposed to teach science. You are not supposed to talk to the kids about gender and all of this other political stuff." And there's actually YouTube videos of fathers confronting female school teachers. So if anyone tries to say, oh, women, all women are innocent, no, not all women are innocent, and not all men are innocent. And there's a lot of sick women as well as men. Someone came in and said, take off the tinfoil hat. What tinfoil hat? Do you not see the picture of the transvestite parade? Justin Trudeau posing with two transvestites? And these transvestites are Canadian school teachers. These transvestites are Canadian police officers. These transvestites are Canadian politicians. These transvestites are Canadian lawyers, Canadian judges. So how are victims supposed to get justice when the entire Canadian government is full of transvestite pedo school teachers, transvestite pedo Canadian police officers, transvestite pedo politicians? Like, that's Justin Trudeau. That's the Prime Minister of Canada, the French Canadian Prime Minister of Canada, posing pictures with transvestites at drag queen and transvestite parades. So what is this tinfoil hat comment? Why are you coming in? Okay, and even if someone was talking about aliens, people have more now agreed. Most people have agreed that there probably are aliens in the universe. So like this tinfoil hat stuff, it used to be made to attack people who talked about aliens. But when I'm not even talking about aliens, I'm literally showing the truth. This is the Prime Minister of Canada taking pictures with transvestite nut jobs. Why do these transvestites want to become school teachers so bad? And why do they want to, like, anyways, and they're also transvestite police officers. They're. Imagine growing up in this Canada where you're a normal guy. Like, I would always just want to be a normal conservative guy. I wanted to go to school, do my work, go to go to prom, go to, like, have a normal high school, normal college, normal job. I don't want to be in math class and transgender teachers coming in suddenly pushing their transvestitism on the students. Like, who wants that? Imagine having to grow up, and then who knows what these transvestite school teachers are doing behind closed doors. Which, by the way, I'm not even going to get into what they did to me, what was done to me growing up. I'm not even gonna get into that. But it's more than just, it's more than just the transvestite stuff. Like, there's other stuff as well. They experiment on people. The government of Canada has secret research facilities where they experiment on people. They experiment on the human genome. They experiment on DNA. They experiment with genetically modified food. They experiment on evolutionary biology. They experiment on people's blood. They experiment on people's brains. Like, the government of Canada is famous. Of course, they don't admit it. They don't openly admit it, but they do it. And people in Canada, we know what's really going on. The Canadian government, they go on the news and they say, oh, they're the nicest, most respectful government. Well, if that's the case, then why is Donald Trump saying he's going to make Canada the 51st state? Clearly, if Donald Trump is saying he wants to make Canada the 51st state, the White House has some serious dirt on Canada. And look, there's pictures of transvestite Canadian school teachers. The Prime Minister of Canada posing with transvestite Canadian school teachers. So the government of Canada and the Canadian media, they always say, oh, Canada's so nice and there's no problems. And because Canada has no guns, which means there's no violence, that's actually totally not right, because there actually is a lot of violence in Canada. Because gun control doesn't stop the criminals from getting guns. And there's constantly robberies, there's violence all the time in Canada, but it's not reported as much as like it's in the States. So clearly, Canada is not this nice, safe country that they portray on the Canadian news, because if Donald Trump, the President of the United States of America, is suggesting to make Canada the 51st state, it's because the White House has a lot of dirt, a lot of stuff. Like, this is Like right now, that like what is keeping Trump from taking over Canada? They have the evidence. Canadian conservative Canadians, we have sent the White House news articles. We've sent the White House videos. We have sent the White House all of this evidence. They know how screwed up Canada is. They know the White House, the United States. But of course, the United States taking over Canada, like that's a big thing. It's a big event, right? So it's not as easy, of course, to just for the United States to just walk in and take over Canada because there would be backlash. But like I mean, like it's got to happen. Like Trump does need to make Canada the 51st state. We're suffering up here. Canadians, conservative Canadians who are normal people. I'm a normal guy. I'm a normal conservative Canadian. I just want to live a normal life. Okay, when I have a normal job, I don't want to be harassed. I was pepper sprayed, I was beaten, I was abused, I was touched inappropriately. Like people touched me inappropriately. You know, this is ridiculous. I've suffered enough. These other conservative Canadians, we've all suffered enough. The White House, they have the evidence that we've been sending it to them for years. We've been calling them, calling the White House. We've been telling them, like we've been look. There's pictures of transvestite Canadian school teachers posing with Justin Trudeau at a transvestite parade. If that's not a red flag, this is like the definition of red flag. If you want to look up the definition of red flag in the dictionary, what is the definition of a red flag? Well, these are like red flag, red flag, red flag. Especially transvestite school teachers that want to be school teachers, especially these transvestites that want to be school teachers so badly. These transvestites, they want to be school teachers, they want to work at Disneyland. If that's not a red flag, I don't know. Like it's a red flag. Okay, red flag. I don't know what else you need. This is crazy because we have been telling the White House for years. So Donald Trump didn't just get the idea in his head overnight. Oh, he's gonna make Canada the 51st state. Okay, no one would just say that out of the blue for no reason. Because Donald Trump isn't saying he's gonna make Mexico the 51st state, right? Donald Trump's not saying he's going to make Mexico the 51st state. And shouldn't you especially be shocked after Canada puts up this big front in the Canadian news? Oh, Canada's so nice. Canada's so safe. There's no issues in Canada. The Canadian government, they're all professionals. Like, and then for then Donald Trump to come out and say he wants to make Canada the 51st state, you must see that there's something up there. Because he's not saying that about Mexico. He's not saying he's going to make Mexico the 51st state. He's not saying he's going to make Australia the 51st state. So for the Canadian government to put up all these lies all these years and pretend like Canadian school teachers are so professional and so nice and Canadian police officers are so professional, that's BS. And so especially you'd be like, whoa, whoa. Like from all the countries you probably were expecting for Trump to say he's gonna make the 51st state, he says Canada. And this whole time you had this perception that Canada was all of these nice people and they were innocent and they were professionals. Oh no, no, that's not true. And conservative Canadians, we know the truth. And we have been messaging the White House for years. We've been sending them news articles. We've been sending them even hardcore evidence. Okay? That's why Donald Trump, he didn't just suddenly say, oh, he's going to make Canada the 51st state. Okay? The White House has severe evidence. But, it's not easy, especially Donald Trump. Who wants to be the president to take over another country? It's not easy. You know what I mean? Like it's even just hard enough for Donald Trump to even say he's going to make Canada the 51st state. That's a big step for a president of a foreign country to say. Okay, so that was a big step. But imagine who wants to be the president to take over another country. Like that's pretty intense. It's like, hey, you're gonna be president for 8 years, and as president, you're gonna get to try to take over another country. But it needs to be done because the government of Canada, they're sickos. They're transvestite sickos. It needs to be done. Okay, America needs to make Canada the 51st state. It needs to be done. But that's what I'm saying. It's not so easy, of course, for Donald Trump to just pick up and make Canada the 51st state, but he needs to do it. Okay? The White House, America needs to do it. Because Canadian pedo transvestite school teachers, they don't arrest themselves. Canadian transvestite Canadian police officers, they don't arrest themselves. Canadian transvestite Canadian lawyers don't arrest themselves. Canadian transvestite Canadian judges don't arrest themselves. These people don't arrest themselves. It's a whole government, it's a whole gang of them. And they control the Canadian government. You think Trump just said he wanted to make Canada 51st state for no reason? There was a reason. There's been many reasons. Yes, I am speaking the truth. Thank you. Thank you, wow, really. Thank you. I'm gonna pin your comment. Thank you, wow, really. Wow, really. Especially too, you must like think it's why did all these years the Canadian news, the Canadian media, they pretended like Canada's so nice. Canadian police officers are so nice. Canadian teachers are so nice. Canada's so this, so nice, so professional. And then so you must especially be shocked for the president of the United States of America to be like, no, Canada is not so nice like the Canadian media portrays themselves to be. They're liars, fake news. The Canadian media, they're fake news and they're liars and they're not so nice. So after all of these years of the Canadian media lying to everyone, lying to the world, saying Canada's so nice, Canada's so this, and then all of a sudden the president of the United States of America to say he wants to make Canada the 51st state, clearly Canada must not be so nice if the president of the United States of America actually is suggesting to take over Canada because something needs to be done about the government of Canada and these sickos. There's literally a picture of transvestite Canadian school teachers posing with the Prime Minister of Canada. If that doesn't tell you that the entire Canadian government has been corrupted, I don't what if this isn't a red flag to people? Red flag, red flag. It's a red flag. It's just many red flags. In fact, it's beyond just red flags. There's evidence. There's news articles. There's victims. There's the president of the United States admitting that America really should make Canada the 51st state and bring law and order back to Canada. Because Canadian pedo transvestite school teachers, they don't arrest themselves. Canadian pedo lawyers don't arrest themselves. Canadian pedo judges don't arrest themselves. Canadian pedo transvestite police officers don't arrest themselves. The United States government, America, needs to arrest these people. But unfortunately, like you can see, even the United States government has been corrupted. There's this Diddy list, there's this Epstein list. We don't know for sure. I think Trump must be okay because, he said he's going to make Canada the 51st state. But now, all of a sudden, now they're saying that Trump's in on it. So I don't know. I don't know. Like, this is ridiculous. Conservative Canadians, whoever you are, conservative, normal Canadians and Americans, conservative, normal Americans, conservative, normal Canadians, everyone, all the conservatives need to get together and arrest the bad people. Arrest these evil people. Arrest them. They need to be arrested. Who's Jesse? Jesse came in and said it's another account. No, I don't know who. Okay, Wow, really? It's not another account of mine. This is a person who came in my live stream and is agreeing with me. I don't know this person. I just met this person today. So this person, Jesse, came in and say, bro, this is you in another account. No, it's not. Wow, really is not an account of mine. This is another person that I just met today. Okay? I only have one YouTube account. So wow, really is not my. In fact, wow, really, you can go ahead and say, like, so I pinned wow, really's a comment because he said he was speaking the truth. He said, you're speaking the truth. And I was like, oh, wow, really? Thank God someone came in and agreed with me. And I pinned his comment. And then this other guy, Jesse, comes in and says, oh, this is you in another account. No, it's not. Wow, really is not my other account. I don't know who Wow really is. I just met this person today when they just came in and they just said, you're speaking the truth. They're not even an admin or moderator. Like I could have even made them admin or moderator just now. When I went to go pin their comment, there's an option to make them admin or moderator. I could have, I didn't, because I don't know this person. Like I just met them today. I liked their comment, I pinned their comment, but obviously if I had known this person, if they were another account of mine, they probably would have been made a moderator, right? But no, this person just came in today. This wow, really just came in today, and I made them. I made their I pinned their comment. I pinned their comment. But what I'm saying is like I could have even made them a moderator if I wanted to. If you're like saying, oh, this is you in another account, but no, there's not. I don't know who this Wow Really person is, but they came in. They obviously liked what I was saying. They said you're speaking the truth, and I pinned their comment. So see, all of these liberal nut jobs, all of these liberal Canadians, they're always attacking the conservative, normal people. We're always being attacked. These transvestite nut jobs, these transvestite school teachers, there's a whole gang of them. Heck, there's a whole parade of them. This is Justin Trudeau posing at a transvestite parade. There's a whole parade, there's a whole gang of transvestite nut jobs. This is why Donald Trump is obviously has no faith in the Canadian police because the Canadian police are the transvestite nut jobs, are the transvestite pedos. The Canadian police are the transvestite pedos. Because if that, because that's why Trump's not saying, oh, Canadian police are going to deal with it. No, Trump knows that Donald Trump knows that the Canadian police are the transvestite pedo nut jobs. So that's why Trump is saying America needs to make Canada the 51st state. Because if it was just it was just 5 or 6 of them, it was just a small number of them, and the Canadian government wasn't corrupted, then obviously the Canadian government would be taking care of it themselves. But they're not because the Canadian government is like they're all pedos. The Canadian government is full of pedos. The Canadian Prime Minister, the Canadian police, the Canadian judges, the Canadian lawyers. There's a whole transvestite parade. Just Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, is posing with transvestite school teachers at a transvestite parade. Clearly, the whole Canadian government's been corrupted. That's why Donald Trump, the President of the United States, he's coming in and being like, this isn't just like an isolated problem that Canada could deal with themselves. The entire government of Canada needs to be arrested. The entire government of, basically, like, translation, when Donald Trump says he wants to make Canada the 51st state, translation, the entire government of Canada needs to be arrested. Here's a translation for you. When Donald Trump says he wants to make Canada the 51st state, how do we translate this sentence into common sense? The entire Canadian government needs to be arrested. Donald Trump says wants to make Canada the 51st state. Translation: the entire Canadian government needs to be arrested. Okay. Thank you. Wow, really? Thank you. Look, he even just said he's just subscribed just now. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you. My channel isn't even monetized, by the way. I know I'm not making money off of this. I'm not my channel isn't even monetized. I'm not getting any financial gain from this. This is the truth. I'm showing you a picture of the Prime Minister of Canada going to transvestite parades. And you can even just pull up these pictures yourself. Because if you just Google search Prime Minister Justin Trudeau transvestite parade, drag queen parade, the pictures come up. It's all over Google Images. Justin Trudeau didn't hide this. They're openly transvestites. They are openly pedos. They are openly corrupt. Because you know why? Because when the Canadian police are corrupt, and the Canadian lawyers are corrupt, and the Canadian judges are corrupt, and the entire Canadian government's corrupt, they know that no one's going to arrest them. They're not going to arrest themselves. The Canadian police are not going to arrest transvest. The Canadian police are not going to arrest transvestite pedo teachers when the Canadian police themselves are pedos as well. So you're gonna call Canadian police who are pedos and ask them to arrest transvestite pedos? Do you think pedo Canadian police are gonna arrest other pedos? Pedos don't arrest other pedos. Pedos cover for other pedos. That's why Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, he knows that this isn't as simple as, oh, Canadian police will just deal with it, because Canadian police are in on it, because Canadian police are pedos too. So if the Canadian police are pedos, Canadian judges are pedos, Canadian lawyers are pedos, Canadian school teachers are transvestite nutjob pedos, that's why Trump is saying he needs to make Canada the 51st state. And he even said something about the military even maybe having to. I'm pretty sure there was some sort of comment said, someone heard something about something Trump saying, like he might even have to get the military involved. This is a big deal. Like literally the Prime Minister of Canada is taking pictures with transvestite school teachers. The government of Canada thinks it's okay for transvestites to promote transvestitism on people in schools and push they have parades. They literally have parades. They have parades. They walk down the street promoting this transvestite stuff to people down the street. What do you think they're doing in schools? What do you think these transvestite weirdos are doing in schools? Yeah, thank you, Wow Really. Yeah, I just met Wow Really today. I didn't know him before today. He just came in. He said you were speaking the truth. And he even said something about your logic and facts, and I pinned his comment. So I pinned his earlier comment because see, that's it. There's a whole gang of them. There's a whole gang of these transvestites. There's a gang of pedos. They operate in it as a gang. They do human trafficking. There's a whole gang of them. And then they go in and they attack people. These gang of transvestites, these gangs of pedos, they go around attacking people. Anyone who tries to speak the truth, any conservative Canadians, conservative Americans who try to speak the truth, normal people, normal guys, normal conservative guys, normal conservative Americans, normal conservative Canadians, anyone who tries to speak the truth, these gang of pedos, these gang of transvestite nut jobs, they all go around attacking people. And they spread lies. So like, oh wow, oh really? Isn't like I just met this person today. I didn't know them before today. It's not like another account of mine. No, that's not true at all. This is a new person, and he even just said he's from Brooklyn. So hello, welcome. Nice from Brooklyn, New York. Apparently, he just said so. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know he was from Brooklyn. I had no idea where he was from until he just said it. This guy. Oh really? He just said he's from Brooklyn, New York. What baiting? This guy says, baiting. What baiting? These are real pictures. Baiting. These are real pictures. The picture on the thumbnail, The picture on the thumbnail is the same picture. What baiting? What baiting are you talking about? That's a bold face. That's a lie. There's no baiting. It's the same picture. The thumbnail picture is the same picture as the live stream. On top of it, these pictures of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, you could find them. They're all over Google Images. All you have to do is Google search Justin Trudeau transvestite parade. They openly have parades. They're open about it. They're open. They have parades. They have parades and marches and drag queen festivals. They have transvestite festivals. They have transvestite parades. They're open about it because they know no one's going to arrest them because those are Canadian police officers dressed as transvestites. Those are Canadian lawyers dressed as transvestites. Those are Canadian judges. Those are Canadian judges dressed as transvestites. They know that they're not going to arrest each other. They're not going to arrest themselves. That's why they're so open about it. That's why transvestite school teachers openly walk around in schools because they know that the Canadian police are also transvestite pedo nutjobs. And so the Canadian police, do not arrest other pedos. Pedos do not arrest other pedos. Canadian pedos do not arrest other pedos. So that's why they're all open about it because they know no one's going to do anything. Maybe the United States will do something, right? But this is why they've been openly getting away with this for years. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, two-faced. He is two-faced. He puts on this front on the television, acting like he's better than you, and he's so respectful. And no, that's all a lie. It's all a lie. You don't even know. This guy's a sicko, Justin Trudeau. You don't even know half the stuff he's done. Like, the stuff he's covered up and the stuff he's got away with. This guy's a sicko, Justin Trudeau. So this is why Donald Trump is not saying, oh, the Canadian government will surely deal with this problem. No, Trump's not saying that. Trump's saying that America has to take over Canada. Translation, when Trump says he's going to make Canada the 51st state, translation, the entire Canadian government is screwed up in the head and needs to be taken over. Translation. There's the translation for you. When Donald Trump says he's going to make Canada the 51st state, translation, the entire Canadian government needs to be arrested. Translation. Translation, Donald Trump says, make Canada the 51st state. Translation, the entire Canadian government needs to be arrested. Translation. There's the translation for you. And it's so obvious. I don't know who this guy Jesse is, but Jesse, like, I don't know what you're getting. Like, Jesse. I don't know what is Jesse? What's your problem? What is your issue? Just tell me what your issue is, Jesse. Just politely. I'm asking you politely, please, Jesse. Please, whatever your agenda is, just please tell me. Please, I'm asking you politely. I'm asking you politely, Jesse. Just tell me what is your agenda? What are you trying to accomplish? What do you really want? Like, what do you want from this? What do you want? Just tell me what you want. Okay, so Jesse said something about he's accusing everyone of being AI or something, I think. Is that what you said? You think everyone's AI? No, Jesse, I'm not AI. I'm not artificial intelligence, okay? But hey, if the artificial intelligence are also saying that Canada needs to be taken over, that's pretty telling. If AI is suddenly like Canada full of pedos, Canada needs to be taken over, Trump needs to make Canada the 51st state. Like if AI is saying that, oh my God. That's pretty telling as well. But I'm no, I'm not. I'm not AI to answer your question, Jesse. I'm not artificial intelligence. I'm a real person. I'm a real human being. I'm not artificial intelligence. So I hope that answers your question, Jesse. Like I get it. There are lots of AI out there, but I am not AI. I am not AI. But Jesus, imagine if the AI was even saying Canada needs to be arrested. Canadian government full of pedos, transvestite, weirdo, nutjob pedos. United States needs to make Canada 51st state. Like, if the AI is saying it, holy. So, I hope that answers your question, Jesse. I hope you feel satisfied with that answer, but I don't know what else to tell you. I am a real person. I am a real person, Jesse. I'm a real person. Yeah, I'm eating noodles. Yes. Yeah, I'm eating noodles. Sorry, I hope people can't hear me eating noodles. I'm trying to eat the noodles really quietly. It's hard to eat noodles quietly because, well, anyways, I'm done anyways now. I just finished, so. Hey, Jesse, hey, if you think this is some sort of way to get views or something, well, first off, it's not. This is the truth. I am telling the truth. But hey, Jesse, um, I would love it for people to tell the same truth. I would love it for people to tell the truth. I would love for more people to do what I'm doing and tell the truth. So, Jesse, you are welcomed actually to go and encouraged to go tell the same truth. And then if you want to get the views yourself, because that's your agenda, because your agenda is to get views and your agenda is whatever, then if we could get way more YouTubers to tell the truth about this, so if you think this is just some way to get views, first off, then we're getting views because this is the truth that's being told. This is a serious issue. And my YouTube account isn't even monetized. I'm not making money. There's no financial gain for me. This is, you think Donald Trump just said overnight randomly, you're going to make Canada 51st state? This has been an issue. We have been sending evidence. We've been sending videos. Conservative Canadians have been sending evidence to the White House for years. So this isn't just, oh, just suddenly Trump one day just decided randomly, apparently the most nicest country in the world, that Canada, the Canadian news, they put out this reputation that Canada's nice. Because of course, the real sickos are not going to admit they're sickos, right? The sickos are not going to get on the evening news and admit that they're sickos, the sickos. The sickos turn around and say, they're so nice, and Canada's the nicest country in the world, and Canada's the safest country, and Canada respects human rights, and Donald Trump knows that's BS. So this isn't just something, oh, Donald Trump just said this for like, and especially too, you have to be like, well, that's kind of odd. Why would he say it about Canada? From all the countries that you thought Trump would say about taking over, and he wants to say Canada, he didn't say he's going to take over Mexico. Trump didn't say he's going to take over Australia. Trump didn't say he's going to take over Britain or Germany. No. Trump said Canada because the White House, the United States government, they got serious dirt on Canada. I'm sure half of those Epstein people are Canadians. Like the United States government, they got dirt. You think Donald Trump just randomly said out of the blue he wants to make Canada the 51st state? No, there's a reason. Donald Trump is, as much as people call him crazy, he's not crazy. Especially to say about Canada. I'm surprised you guys aren't shocked. I'm surprised you guys are, but apparently on the Canadian news, they say Canada is so safe and Canada is so nice and Canadian police officers are so nice. No, 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 no. That's BS. In fact, they want to take your guns away. The same Canadian government that doesn't allow Canadians to have guns to defend themselves from transvestite pedos, the same Canadian government the same Canadian government that doesn't allow Canadians to have guns to defend themselves, they want to take your American guns away too. If it were up to the Canadian government, they would take every American's gun away and only the police would have guns. If you live in a country where only the police are allowed to have guns, that is a red flag of a corrupt country. That is corruption. That is a corrupt country. Any country that will not allow the citizens to defend themselves, any country like Canada that doesn't allow the Second Amendment, that doesn't allow citizens to have guns to defend themselves, that should be an indicator right there for you that Canada is an extremely corrupt country. And if it were up to the Canadian government, they would take all of Americans' guns away. So that's another red flag, tells you what's up and up. In fact, if you call the Canadian police and you ask them, hey, Canadian police, and you could call almost any state, because even Alberta tries to pretend like Alberta is pro Texas and Alberta pretends like it's pro America. No, no, because I bet you even if you call the Alberta police, I would bet even the Albertan police, but call Quebec police, call Ontario police, call Vancouver police, call British Columbia police. They will say, hey, Canadian police, what would happen if a bunch of Texans, gun-loving Texans, gun-loving Americans, American Texans with guns, what would happen if a bunch of Texans went to Canada with their guns? You know what the Canadian police would say and do? They would send hundreds of police cars, hundreds. The Canadian police, well, they even say on the phone, they even say, they would arrest the Texans. I'd like to see that happen. Yeah, I'd like to see Canadian police try to arrest Texans. imagine, imagine Canadian police trying to arrest Texans and take guns away from Texans. Imagine Canadian police trying to take guns away from Texans. If you've ever seen a Wild Wild West movie, Bloodbath, if you have ever seen a gun showdown, if you've ever seen a Wild Wild West cowboy gun showdown, Bloodbath, that would be Canadian police, Canadian communist Canadian police trying to take guns away from Texans from Texas. Now that would be a showdown. That would be like the biggest gunfight would break out in the world. So yeah, if Texans from Texas actually tried to go to Canada with their American guns, the Canadian police, the communist Canadian police, who by the way are backed by China, communist China, Canada is practically communist China. Like you don't even know. Like you don't even know the half of it. Like Canada is practically communist China. Donald Trump says he wants to make Canada the 51st state. Canada is already like a province of China. Canada is already an extension of China, and the United States wants to make Canada the 51st state. It's called communist Canada for people call Canada to be communist for a reason. We are basically like controlled by communist China. Communist China doesn't allow Chinese citizens to have guns to defend themselves. Like communist China, like they do a lot of screwed up stuff. So these liberal Canadians, they're all pro China. They all got and like, Texans, This is another reason why Donald Trump is not. It's not so easy to just come and take. They need to for sure. I'm the one saying it. I'm literally the one saying that Donald Trump, of course, needs to make Canada 51st state. But of course, I can understand why Trump's hesitating a bit. Because Trump knows that it's not just a fight between the United States and Canada. It's a fight between the United States, Canada, and China. And Trump knows this. And Russia. Trump knows this. He knows it. In fact, when Trump was dishing out the tariffs, what did he say? He's going to put tariffs on China and tariffs on Canada. Tariffs on China and tariffs on Canada. Why? Why did Trump say at the same time tariffs on China and tariffs on Canada? Trump didn't say tariffs on Germany and tariffs on Australia, tariffs on Germany and tariffs on Australia. No, you know what Trump said? He said tariffs on China, tariffs on Canada, tariffs on China, tariffs on Canada. If that doesn't tell you that Canada, like, there's another thing right there. Canada, we have been taken over by communist China. And now China is trying to pretend like, oh, they're not communist. Because for many years, Canadians were complaining that Canada, there's no free speech in Canada, no gun rights, no human rights. And now China is trying to pretend as if, oh, no one's human rights were violated. Nobody was beaten and pepper sprayed. Nobody was put in Canadian prison unlawfully without trial. Like that's what China is trying to present right now. China is trying to turn around and be like, oh, no. We have been abused for years. Canadians, conservative Canadians, have been abused by this communist Canadian government for years. It's been going on. But hey, like, that's and I just like, I just thought to say, like, how do I convince these people? How do I show them the truth? And so, yeah, when Trump said tariffs on China, tariffs on Canada, tariffs on China, tariffs on Canada, why did he say those two countries simultaneously? When Trump said when there was a news report saying Trump is threatening to put tariffs on China and Canada, he didn't say Germany and Australia. He didn't say Poland and Switzerland. He didn't say Russia and Mongolia or whatever. He didn't say Russia and Japan. No, Trump said tariffs on He wants to put tariffs on Canada and tariffs on China because Canada, we have been taken over by China. Even the Russians are complaining. And the Russians are like allies of the Chinese. But even the Russians, they're not stupid. Russia used to be enemies of China, by the way. If anyone looks into history, Russia and China used to be enemies. And they probably don't fully trust each other, to be honest. Because the Russians, they have probably experienced discrimination from China. China discriminates. You think China would ever have a black president? No, no. China would never have a black president. Are you kidding? You think China is the most racist country in the world. China would never have a black president. And the Russians probably even were discriminated against too. Because a lot of times Chinese people, they only do business with other Chinese people. Chinese people are racist. A lot of them. A lot of them are. Their practices, they would never allow a black president. They would never allow, like Obama. America had the first black president. China would never allow that. In fact, Trump had to rescue those black guys in prison, in Chinese prison, remember? It was a news article maybe about 12 to 8 years ago, something. Can't remember exactly, but it was about 10, 12 years ago around that time. There was basketball players. There was black basketball players that went to China and they were in Chinese prison. And Trump had to go in and rescue them. Trump had to rescue black basketball players that were in Chinese prison in China. Trump had to go rescue them. It was a big news article about 10, 12 years ago, approximately. You want to know something? Explain how they get away with this. There are Chinese lawyers in Canada. I've called them. I've tried calling them, asking them for help. Explain how this works. First off, there not only are there Chinese lawyers in Canada that actually flat out say that they only help other Chinese people. They literally say that. That's discrimination. Literally, there are Chinese lawyers in Canada that if you call them and they'd be like, sorry, we only represent Chinese people. What? Chinese Canadian lawyers that only represent Chinese people? That's discrimination against non-Chinese. And then there's also Chinese lawyers that if a Chinese person calls them and asks them to be their lawyer, the Chinese lawyer will say, "Oh, $5,000 retainer." And then if a non-Chinese person calls them to ask them to be the lawyer, $50,000 retainer. Wait a minute. So Chinese people, if they want a lawyer, they're gonna get paid $5,000 retainer for a Chinese lawyer, but the same Chinese lawyer will turn around to a black person or a Latina or to a white person and say, oh, but they're gonna charge the black person $50,000 an hour, $50,000 a year, or $50,000 retainer. Why did they do that? Why do they do that? Why does China suddenly change their prices depending on who's calling them? Because they don't want to serve, they don't want to represent a black person. Because a black person calls a Chinese law firm in Canada, and suddenly they're asking the black person, oh, because they don't want to represent the black person, they're saying, yeah, oh yeah, we'll represent you, but they need a $50,000 retainer. But if it was a Chinese person calling the same Chinese law firm, the Chinese law firm would be like, oh, $5,000 retainer, 2,000, like even 10,000. But if it's not a Chinese person, if it's a black person, if it's a Latina, if it's a white person, so this is how they discriminate. They do all of these discriminatory practices. And another big discriminatory practice is you must be able to speak Chinese for jobs that don't even need you to. This is how they discriminate against non-Chinese people. There are a lot of Canadian job where it's like must be bilingual in Chinese and English. Of course, like the average Canadian doesn't speak Chinese. But then if you go look at the job, it's like this job, it's not like if they're working in a Chinese book factory. Like these are just everyday Canadian jobs where they only want to hire Chinese people. So they say must be bilingual in Chinese and English, which is, hey, translation, they only want to hire Chinese people. When the job says, here's a translation. When the job says must be bilingual in Chinese and English, translation, they only want to hire Chinese people because the average Canadian doesn't speak Chinese. Imagine there's a Canadian who like studied Chinese for years. There's a Canadian that like actually like took Chinese in university. They have like 2 degrees in Chinese. They put on their resume they speak fluent Chinese. They even put a name like maybe they changed their name to like Sarah Wong or Sarah Lee or whatever. They go into the interview and the Chinese people are shocked. Like, and then the Canadian is like, I speak Chinese. I have 2 degrees in Chinese. Give me the job. And then the Chinese people are like, uh, but, sorry, we don't want to hire you. And then the person's like, I speak Chinese. You can tell me in Chinese. Like you said you put out a job advertisement saying that these jobs are only available to Canadians who speak fluent Chinese and fluent English. Well, we found a Canadian that went to university for years to study the Chinese language. They have a degree in Chinese. They speak Chinese. This person speaks Chinese. So are you going to hire them? Because you said on these job advertisement must speak Chinese and English, and here we found a Canadian that speaks fluent Chinese. Are you going to hire them? They're shocked. The Chinese people are shocked. They were obviously expecting every time they do an interview, they're expecting Chinese applicants. Then the Chinese people are like, we don't want to hire you. That's how they discriminate against people. And they also do it. Indians do the same thing because Indians they say must speak Punjabi, must speak Punjabi. Oh, we have a Canadian that went to university that studied Punjabi, that studied Hindi, that studied Urdu. We have a Canadian. Then the Indian people are shocked, like, what are you doing at this interview? Why are you here? What this did you not read the job advertisement? It said a person who can speak both Hindi and English. And you are why are you here? And then the person's like, "Oh, hi, I'm Canadian, but I went to university and I studied foreign languages and I studied Urdu and Hindi and Punjabi. So actually, I do speak all of those languages." And he's like, "Why are you confusing us?" Then he's like, it also said on the job advertisement, must know how to make curry. Can you make curry? Like, actually, yes. Hi, I went to university. I studied foreign languages. I speak Urdu. I speak Punjabi, and I know how to make curry as well. Yes, I do know how to make curry. What what are you doing here? So that's how they discriminate against people. They discriminate against the non Asians, non Indians. They discriminate. They're the most discriminatory. These people are the most discriminatory. They're the most racist, these people. There's Canadians, we just want a job. But they don't want to give it, They came to take our jobs, literally take our money, take our jobs, take our homes. People are like, oh, if they just take your jobs, what's the big deal if they take your job? If they take your job, you don't have money to have a home, you don't have money to have a car, you don't have money to go on trips to on vacation. If an immigrant takes your job, he takes your whole life. He takes your car, he takes your home. You don't have money to have a home, you don't have money to have a car. You think, oh, what's the big deal if immigrants come in and take your Canadian jobs? You don't have a car, you don't have a home. How can you afford to pay your car? How can you afford to pay your home if this immigrant comes and takes your job? That's why the MAGA people, they're all fed up. They're all marching the streets. Hey, imagine if I went to China and I opened up a business in China and I said, we only hire people who speak fluent English. Of course, and everyone in China would get the job because they all speak fluent English in China, but still. Or no, no, let's go. Let's take an Arabic person. Let's because Arabic is hard, and even though Chinese people are brilliant at languages, Chinese people can speak English better than we do. But let's take a person Arabic because Arabic is not easy for anyone. Let's take an Arabic person. If an Arabic person opened up a business in China and they started saying we only hire people who speak fluent Arabic, I'm sure the government of China would go crazy. The government of China would be like, you think you can open up an Arabic business in China and only hire Arabic people in China? Like China, the government of China would go crazy. And rightfully so, they would get upset. Because it's taking jobs away from Chinese citizens. Unless it was a very specific, like you absolutely had to know Arabic. Like unless it's like you're writing Arabic novels, unless you're like writing Arabic romance novels, unless it's a job where you absolutely have to know Arabic because you're writing Arabic romance novels, then that's different. But we're talking about everyday jobs. We're talking about like to be just working everyday jobs. Like, why do you need to like why do you need to know fluent Arabic to be a dry cleaner in China? Like to be a dry, like it's pretty easy. Why do you have to be fluent Arabic to be whatever? Like to be a dry cleaner in China. In fact, that's why they have all of these tests. They have all of these entrance tests. Like, oh, they're only going to give you a Chinese visa if you pass the entrance exam and you can speak a minimum level of Chinese. They would make the Arabic person learn Chinese. They would make them take a test. They would test the Arabic person's Chinese level and say, you have to have a minimum of Chinese to be able to work, do a business in China, operate a business. Like, heck, you know what would be the worst thing for China and all these other countries if we had to do what China does policy. Like if we be like, oh, you know what? We're gonna operate the country in the same way that China operates their country. The Chinese people would like suddenly get scared. Canada, like America has a new policy. We're gonna do everything exactly what the Chinese people do. The Chinese people would suddenly get scared because they would never have a black president. China would never have a black. You don't think China would ever have? No, they won't. No, they will not. China would never have a black president. Trump, literally, it's a whole news article. They like the only like there were a small number of black people in China, and they were in Chinese prison. They were black basketball players. It was a whole news article. When Trump was president the first time, it was a whole news article. There were these black basketball players in Chinese prison. Trump had to rescue them from Chinese prison. Black basketball players. And you think that China could ever have a black president? Like Obama? Nope. Yeah, you want to know something too, actually? Hey, so I do remember seeing job advertisements for Walmart saying must be bilingual in Chinese and English. Why does Walmart require people to be bilingual in both Chinese and English? Chinese is not an official language of Canada. English is an official language of Canada. Anyone going to any Walmart in Canada, whether it's a Walmart in Chinatown or whether it's a Walmart anywhere in Canada, needs to be served in English and or French. Chinese is not an official language of Canada. So for a Walmart advertisement to say must be bilingual in both Chinese and English, uh, even if it's a Walmart in Chinatown, it's still people are expected that because Canada, the official language is English, and this is why countries have entrance exams. China would expect you try to open up a Walmart in China that only speaks English, the Chinese government would go crazy. The Chinese government would say, no, you open a Walmart in China, you need to speak a certain level of Chinese. You don't have to be like a poet, but you at least have to be able to speak a certain level of Chinese to operate a Walmart in China. You can't just speak English at a Walmart in China and only speak English. So I saw a job advertisement, I remember, for a Walmart job to work at Walmart. To be bilingual, you have to be bilingual in Chinese and English. Even if it's in Chinatown, any Walmart in Canada it's expected that they speak a certain level of English. And it's not, you don't need to know that much English to work at Walmart. You need to know like returns. Obviously, you need to know a lot of English to work at Walmart, but you don't have to be like a poet. You don't have to be like an English novelist, an English Nobel Prize winner. You just have to speak obviously you have to know a lot of English, but like obviously people have to be able to return their items, people to be able to shop. But for people to have job advertisements, they must be bilingual and fluent Chinese and English for a job for a job advertisement to work in Walmart. I don't care if even it's a Walmart in Chinatown. It doesn't matter. Any Walmart anywhere in Canada, it's expected. If you go to a Walmart anywhere in Canada, they speak a certain level of English. So, and then they try to say, oh, but they need fluent bilingual in Chinese. They need fluent Chinese and English bilingual people because what if there's Chinese Canadians that don't speak English at all and only speak Chinese? Then what are they doing here? Because they have an entrance exam. China doesn't allow people to you could say the same thing for every they have to know a level of English to be able to in Canada. Chinese is not the official language of Canada. Okay? When Canada clearly states that English is the official language of Canada, then everyone has the expectation that when they go to Walmart, they will be able to purchase stuff in English because the official language of Canada is English. It's not Chinese. So if I go to Walmart, even if it's a Walmart in Chinatown, they need to be able to I need to be able to purchase things, it's because then they could just do that through all of Canada. What's stopping them from then just every single job, every must be bilingual in Chinese and English, every single job, like because it's not just gonna start off then with just Chinatown. That's gonna be every Walmart eventually. It'll start off with one Chinatown. Next thing you know, you go to friggin' Walmart in Vancouver, you go to Walmart in Toronto, you go to Walmart in Alberta, and it's like they all speak Chinese, and none of them speaks English. Like, no, that's ridiculous. China wouldn't allow that. China would make people learn Chinese if you want to go open a business in China. China wouldn't allow English people to open up businesses in China unless it's like an English novel company, unless you're writing English novels, English romantic novels. But if it's like a Walmart in China, no, China wouldn't allow Walmart in China to be only English speaking. Like when it's the official language of China is Chinese. Okay, I wasn't trying to delete the message. I was trying to. Okay, you can't do that. You're not gonna get my stream taken down. Sorry, Jesse. Sorry, Jesse, but you're not gonna. I'm not gonna allow you to get my stream taken down. So I am very liberal with free speech, but not when you do stuff like that, because you're purposely trying to get the stream taken down. So how do I? Jesse said he accused all of these profiles of being fake. He says he's going to report all of these fake profiles. No, Jesse, I have told you numerous times that I am not wow, oh really. This is a different account, a different person. This is a different person altogether. I don't know who wow really is. They came into my live stream, they started making comments, and then you accused me of being the same person as oh Riley. No, no, oh really is a different account, a different person altogether. Different person, different account. It's a whole other person. This person's from New York. I am not from New York. I'm from Canada. I am from Canada. Rao, oh, really is from New York. And you just made a comment saying you're going to report all of these fake profiles. No, no, no. I am not trying to deny you your freedom of speech. You are trying to deny us our freedom of speech. You are trying to get our freedom of speech removed. So I am removing you. That's literally the only time I've ever removed somebody. I'm very liberal with free speech, but if someone tries to take my free speech away, no, I remove you from my live stream. Because you're trying to take my free speech away. You're trying to report, and you're false reporting. You're false reporting because I told you that, oh, really? I told you many times that, oh, really? Oh, wow. Wow. I told you many times that, wow, really is not me. This is a different person. They're from Brooklyn. They're from New York. I just met this person today. And so Jesse made a comment saying that he's going to report all of these fake profiles and try to get these and and there's these report gangs. There's all of these report gangs. They try to take people's free speech away. There's on X. If you ever go on Twitter on Twitter and X, there's all of these report gangs. They take people's freedom of speech away. They get people's accounts removed. No, 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 no. You will not false report me. You will not be false reporting me and my freedom of speech. No. That is a threat to the live stream. That is, you are now trying to remove the freedom of speech on this live stream. You are now trying to remove a live stream for no reason, no valid reason. And that's actually false reporting. I'm very liberal with free speech, but as soon as I saw that, I'm like, no, 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 because you're trying to take my freedom of speech away. All of these false reporters, when they have these report gangs, and then they try to take streams down by false reporting, now you're taking other people's free speech away. I'm not going to allow you to do that to my stream or anyone else's stream, and then you will be, and then that's why those people are removed. Like, I am very liberal with free speech. But if someone tries to false report me and get my stream taken down, no, 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 no. I won't allow that. I have to protect the live stream. I have to protect my freedom of speech. I have to protect the live stream. And I will not allow people to come in and falsely report. No, I will not. Especially when I already told them many times. I told them I am not wow, really. That is a different person altogether. See, it's all of these are Nazis, these are communist people, all of these liberal, crazy liberals, they're all trying to, they're gangs, they operate in gangs. These crazy liberals, these crazy communists, they operate in gangs. They try to get people's live streams taken down, they take away people's free speech. You will not, no one will take away my freedom of speech, and no one will sabotage my live stream. At first, I wasn't sure about Jesse because, sometimes people come in and argue, but, by them leaving all the comments, they boost your live stream by leaving all the comments. So if people argue and stuff and say stuff, it helps the live stream at least to boost the live stream. But not if they're going to report the live stream when the live stream did nothing wrong. Not if they're going to try to take the live stream down. If they come in and they argue, and even if they call me an idiot, I don't care. Even if they swear at me, I don't care. All of these comments, they boost the live stream, all these comments, even if they're calling me an idiot, whatever. But then if they say that they're going to try to take the live stream down and false report the live stream, no, no, no. Like, I've let people call me an idiot. I've let people call me worse. I've let people call me all these names. I let people like argue with me. Like, I've let all of this stuff because all these comments, even if they call me an idiot, it boosts the live stream. Like, it's all these comments. But if they come in and say they're going to report the live stream, falsely report the live stream, and have try to get the live stream taken down, no, 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 no. I have to protect the live stream. I have to protect my freedom of speech. So I'm very liberal with freedom of speech, but don't try to take my free speech away. See, they operate in gangs. All of these crazy liberals. They have transvestite parades. They have gangs. They're gangs of criminals. They're gangs of criminals. They're gangs of transvestites. They're murderers. They're rapists. They operate in gangs. And Jesse clearly is part of that gang because he's trying to get the stream taken down. He's trying to remove freedom of speech. And what they also do is when there are all these victims coming forward, then they form a gang and they all go and say, "Oh, this person's crazy. They're a liar, tinfoil hat, crazy liar, tinfoil hat." That's what they do to the victims. The real victims, there are real victims of these weirdo nut jobs. And then the gangs of pedos, the gangs of transvestites, the gangs of nut jobs, they all gang up on the victims. Whenever the victims try to tell their story about what was done to them, then these gangs of pedos, these gangs of transvestites, they all gang up on the victims. And these gangs of pedos, these gangs of nut jobs, they all go and say, "Oh, the victim's crazy." They call the victim crazy. They call the victims crazy. They call the victims liars. And then they try to get the victim's streams taken down. I am a victim. I am also a victim of all of this stuff. Trump didn't just randomly say, "Oh, he's going to make Canada the 51st state" for no reason. Like, he didn't say he was going to make Australia the 51st state. He didn't say he was going to make Mexico or Cuba the 51st state. There was a reason why Trump said that. Wow, really? Um, well, I have told the story before. It's a long story. So the thing is, I have to be careful because, uh, like, YouTube doesn't allow people to give out very specific details that could identify a person. So basically, I'm going to tell a version of the story in which I don't give any specific details, like very specific that could identify me. But basically, I'm a conservative Canadian. I've always been good at math and science. I've always been obsessed with astronomy and the planets. I was always naturally good at math. I was always naturally good at science. And when I was in high school, there was a witch hunt over me. Like there were teachers saying inappropriate things to me, making inappropriate comments to me. We didn't have any teachers that were full on dressed up as drag queens and dressed up as transvestites, but we had teachers in my high school who would make inappropriate comments, very inappropriate comments. One of the teachers one time said to one of the female students, "Oh, you feel like you fill out that sweater real nice." The girl had gone through like the year before she looked different, right? And then a year later, and then the teacher saw her and said, "Wow, you fill out that sweater real nice." That's what the teacher said to a student, a female student. These are the kind of comments that happen. So they said inappropriate stuff to me. They like touched me inappropriately. These creepy school teachers. And also, there was another incident with police. The police are crazy. The police are transvestites. The police are liars. And, so basically, long story short, I've been a victim of so much. Like, there's so much has happened. And, when I try to tell the truth, 20 years ago, it was extremely, like, the internet was totally controlled 20 years ago. First off, not everyone even had access to a computer. And 20 years ago, the computers were slow. And, like, it was so hard 20 years ago. And then, even if you managed to get an access to a computer, get high speed internet 20 years ago, the internet was then super controlled. So like, and even if you then even knew how to even use all of these technology and everything, so it was not easy. And that this has been going on for years. And Trump, we have been, it's not just me. There's been other Canadians, I'm sure. We have sent news articles, we sent evidence. There was a teacher who got fired 6 times. And instead of them taking away his teacher license, he just kept moving to different provinces. He was fired, like, for example, in Ontario. He was fired in Quebec. He was fired in British Columbia. He was fired in. And then he just keeps moving around to different provinces, teaching after being fired all of these times. Maybe if he's being fired from every province, he's that bad. And you must be pretty bad because they're already bad as it is. Teachers are already bad as it is. Teachers are already inappropriate as it is. But for someone to actually get fired, and not only get fired once, but get fired 6 times, and then for the teacher license, the school board to not even take the person's license away, that goes to tell you that the school board is corrupt. If the school board doesn't even take the person's teaching license away and just fires them and it probably took a mountain of evidence to even get them fired. Probably took a mountain of evidence to finally get the person fired because, of course, they try to cover up as much as possible. The teachers, the police cover up as much as possible. So it probably took a mountain of evidence, and then finally, when they actually get fired, does the school board take away their teacher's license? No, they just move to another province. There's news articles about teachers being fired for really heinous, inappropriate reasons, and then just moving to another province of Canada. Canada is like they put innocent journalists in prison, they put innocent people in prison, but then they also protect the most heinous criminals in Canada. Because the entire Canadian government, they're run by pedos, they have transvestite parades, they have transvestite school teachers. So I love science, I love mathematics. I just want to be a normal guy. I want to play football. I want to play soccer. I just want to, I don't want to be harassed. I don't want to, I don't want none of that. Okay. And then two, it's like they will in Canada because they want money. They want your money. They will pull people over for doing 5 over the speed limit. I swear to God. In Canada, Canadian police officers, oh, if there's a transvestite school teacher who's been fired 7 times, oh, they don't care. But if you're doing 10 over the speed limit, like 10 over, like not even 10 over, like barely 10 over. If you're doing 10 over the speed limit, they will like taser you, arrest you, beat you, ugh, give you a large fine for doing 10 over the speed limit. But if you're a transvestite school teacher who was fired 7 times from different provinces, oh, the Canadian police don't care about that. They're bullies. All of the bullies, all of the high school bullies, all the bullies, they all became police officers. All of the bullies, they became politicians. All of the liars and sociopaths and bullies, they became police officers. All of the liars and bullies became Canadian police officers. They became Canadian judges. All the liars and bullies and sociopaths became Canadian judges. They became Canadian lawyers. It's a whole network of them. They're a network of abusers. They're a network of bullies. And I don't feel comfortable actually coming full. Like I went out the last time I went full forward in the public, I was beaten, I was attacked. Like so when Trump makes Canada the 51st state, when Trump officially takes over Canada, makes Canada the 51st state, then I will feel safe to go on the news and tell everything, detail for detail, date for date, details, all the details, all of the names, all of the everything, all the specific details. Once Trump, uh, and even if he has to use the military, actually makes Canada 51st state for real, takes over Canada, then I will feel comfortable going on the news and saying everything that has happened, everything that I've seen, and keep in mind, there's a lot of victims that they don't report what has happened to them because of fear. They don't report what's happened to them because they know that the government of Canada is corrupt. Like, imagine telling someone, "Oh, did the government of Canada touch you? Go complain to the government of Canada that they touched you." If the government of Canada abuses you and touches you inappropriately and takes your human rights away, then just file a complaint with the government of Canada. If the Canadian police abuse you and touch you and beat you, then just go complain to the Canadian police. Hey, Canadian police, will you arrest yourselves? Hey, Canadian police, you're going around beating up innocent people and abusing them and touching them inappropriately. Hey, Canadian police, will you arrest yourselves? If the Canadian police are harassing you and touching you inappropriately, just ask the Canadian police if they, and just complain, just file a complaint with the Canadian police. Hey, Canadian police, will you arrest yourselves? The Canadian police investigated them. The Canadian police investigated themselves and found no wrongdoing. The Canadian police investigated themselves and cleared themselves of wrongdoing. And there's stuff that I can't even talk about because I'll just start breaking into tears. Like there's certain things that have happened to me that are so traumatic that even if I start talking about it, I might start crying, I might start breaking into tears. So once Donald Trump makes Canada the 51st state, even if he has to use the military and officially takes over Canada, then I will feel comfortable to go on the news, go public again, and just tell all the dates, the times, the specific details, everything. So James came in. Hello, James. Is this a rainbow stream? No, it's not a rainbow stream. No, I'm a conservative Canadian. Hello, James. Welcome to live stream. Thank you for your question. You said, is this a rainbow stream? No, it's not. This is not a rainbow stream. I am a conservative Canadian who's complaining about all of this evil stuff that they do. I am a man. I am a man. I am not a rainbow. I know you're not calling me a rainbow. I know you're just asking, is this a rainbow stream? But I'm just letting you know that I am a man. I'm not a rainbow. I don't dress like a rainbow. I dress like a man. I wear, I like it when all of the men in the 1960s and 70s, they dressed like men, they walked like men, they talked like men. Wore suits and ties and black work socks, and they were, they dressed like men, strong, tall, masculine men, they were real men. They had like suits, they wore suits and they had ties, wore black dress socks, and they were businessmen, they were professional men, they were real men. Okay, I don't know who these like rainbow people are who dress up like little girls and then go use the girls' bathroom. I don't know who these people are. I don't know who these guys are that like to dress up like girls and then use the girls' bathroom. I don't know who these guys are, but they are not me. I am a man. I'm a man. Okay, I am a scientist. I have a nasally voice because I'm a scientist. And when I was growing up, I had severe asthma because I lived in a very polluted city. I lived in a very polluted, I won't say which city because I can't give away specific details about myself because I don't want to, and that's even, YouTube says not to do that. So anyways, I won't say which city, but I grew up in a very polluted city, and that's why I'm very against pollution. And I had asthma, severe asthma, and that's why I have a nasally voice. Okay. And, but I'm always striving to be more manly. I even looked into consider doing surgery to make my voice sound deeper. Like, I walk like a man, I dress like a man, I dress professionally. So I use the men's bathroom. I am a man, and I use the men's bathroom. And I use the men's change room. And when I go to play on a sports team, I play on the men's team for the men. I do not dress like a woman. I do not play on the women's team. I do not go into any women places, if you know what I mean. So I am a scientist. I'm a mathematician. You know what my role models are? My role models are not transvestites. My role models are Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, Charles Darwin. My role models are Madame Curie. My role models are Neil deGrasse Tyson, Stephen Hawking, Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla. Can't say Nikola Tesla enough. Nikola Tesla. Those are my role models, scientists and mathematicians. Gregory Mendel, um, uh, Chris Hadfield, who was a Canadian astronaut, Chris Hadfield. These are my role models, astronauts, mathematicians, scientists. My role models are not drag queens and transvestites. My role models are mathematicians, scientists, astronauts. Men who are professional men, who are smart and intelligent and have real jobs. And to know that because they're men, especially because they're men, they need to use the men's change room, the men's bathroom, play on men's sports, men's baseball, men's football, men's soccer, men. And I have a nasally voice because I grew up in a very polluted city and I got asthma. And I used to have an inhaler. I don't have to use an inhaler anymore, but I used to have to use an inhaler because I grew up in a really polluted city. So I'm a very pro environment. I'm against pollution. I'm very pro environment. I'm not one of those crazy environmentalists that throws paint on celebrities. No, I don't do that. But obviously, I don't want the cities to be polluted, you know. So these are real issues. Pollution is a real issue that affects everyone. pollution, climate change, all of this stuff. And I'm not an expert on climate change. I'm not going to go disagree with the climate change experts. I don't know what they, I'm not a climate change expert. I can't give an opinion either way because I don't, there's all these people trying to say climate change is fake. I don't know. I'm not an expert in climate change. I can't say either way. I can't say if it's fake or not. But I'm going to say, like, if it's an issue, we definitely need to look into it. And so obviously pollution is real. Obviously, pollution is a serious problem. You can't even see the Hollywood sign. They make all of these Hollywood movies. They spend millions of dollars, billions of dollars making all of these Hollywood movies. You'd think that they would spend their time and resources to clean up Hollywood and so that people could actually see the Hollywood sign and remove all the pollution. Hello, that should be number one priority. They'll make a movie about removing the pollution. They'll be like, number one box office Hollywood movie about removing the pollution. But they won't actually remove the pollution in Hollywood, which causes birth defects, causes asthma, causes cancer. And the government of Canada, they have these secret research facilities in the middle of Canadian forests. Canada is huge. Canada is a huge country. I used to work for the government of Canada, and I was fired. I was fired from working for the government of Canada because I have a big mouth. And I used to work for the government of Canada. I was fired from the government of Canada. The government of Canada has these big research facilities in the middle of Canadian forests. Canadian forests are huge. If you try going in those Canadian forests, like you could get lost. You could be in there for days, for years in the Canadian forest, lost. Canadian forests are huge, huge. Canadian forests are huge. In the middle of Canadian forests, hidden in the middle of Canadian forests, there are top secret Canadian research facilities where they experiment on people. They experiment on the human genome. They experiment on people's blood. They experiment on people's brains. They experiment on people's whole bodies. They do all of these top secret, high levels, high security clearance experimentations on people. They experiment on people. A lot of these people that you think are just went missing, and then everyone forgets about the people that went missing. These people end up at these top secret research facilities in Canada, in the middle of these Canadian forests, hidden in these Canadian forests. There's like these top secret research facilities in Canada where they experiment on people. They experiment on evolution. They experiment on evolutionary biology. They experiment on the human genome. They experiment on DNA. They experiment on genetically modified food. They experiment on eugenics. They practice eugenics. They do cloning. They experiment on cloning. They do all of these experiments. Canada has one of the most aggressive science research programs. Canada has one of the most aggressive science research programs. They do all of these experimentations. They experiment on people. They experiment with people's DNA. They experiment with evolution. They experiment on animals. They experiment on people. And they have all of these research facilities in the middle of Canada and Canadian forests. And that's another reason why Donald Trump wants to make Canada the 51st state. Canada won't, even Canada won't let everyday Canadians discover these secrets. Canada won't allow everyday Canadians to go into these top secret high level research facilities in Canada. And they won't, especially won't allow Americans either. And guess who funds? Guess which country? Guess which country that's allies of Canada? China. China, allies of Canada. Guess which country? China, which supports Canada and helps Canada fund all of these secret research facilities in the middle of Canadian forests where they experiment on people, all of these innocent people that end up at these experimental facilities, and they get experimented on. They're prisoners. They experiment on their blood, on their brains. They experiment on the consciousness, on human consciousness, reality. They experiment psychological weapons on these people, biological weapons, everything. Oh, you don't even know the half of it. You don't even know the half of it. Yeah, it's bad. Canada is bad. Of course, the Canadian news, they're not going to go on the Canadian news and be like, yeah, well, we like, they're not going, of course, they're not going to admit it on the Canadian news, but this is what goes on. Especially any of these people, these Canadians that go on these Canadian hiking adventures. You know why a lot of Canadians go missing when they go hiking, when they go camping? It's not just the fact they get lost in the forest, because that also happens too. A lot of Canadian hikers, a lot of Canadian backpackers, Canadians go camping. I don't know why people go camping. If I'm gonna go someplace, I'm gonna stay at a hotel. But anyways, a lot of Canadians like to go camping. A lot of Canadians like to go hiking. And you know why a lot of these Canadians go missing in the Canadian forest, and then they just blame the Canadian forest being so big. No, they probably stumble across these top secret research facilities. And then you think the top secret research facility, if a Canadian backpacker, a Canadian hiker, a Canadian camper stumbles across these top secret Canadian research facilities, you think the government of Canada is just going to let these people get away? That's how the government of Canada, that's how these top research facilities gets these experimental subjects. Heck, they probably lure them in. There's probably like these Canadian backpackers and these Canadian hikers and everything, and they're probably hiking in the middle of Canadian forest. Next thing you know, they see a building in the middle of the Canadian forest that says free hamburgers, free free this, free that, like gold inside the building, all of this stuff. And then the Canadian backpackers are like, and then Canada, that's how these top secret Canadian research facilities, that's how they get their test subjects. A lot of them are probably Canadian hikers, Canadian backpackers, and then they just blame the forest. They just say, "Oh, another Canadian hiker, another Canadian backpacker, another Canadian camper went missing in the forest, in the big, deep, dark Canadian forest. They're probably prisoners underground in a Canadian top secret Canadian research facility. They have a lot of them underground. Canada has a lot of underground facilities, a lot. So it's not just that they're in the middle of the forest. They're also mostly underground. It's not just that they're in the middle of the Canadian forest, because then that would even still be easy to see, right? A lot of them are partially underground, fully underground. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Canadian camper, Canadian backpacker, Canadian hiker who just were walking in the middle of the Canadian forest. Next thing you know, they get into a trap, into one of those net traps where the net picks the person up and puts them in the net. Then they're sprayed with a chemical. They fall asleep. They're put to sleep, and then the next thing you know, after they go unconscious, they end up as a test subject in one of those Canadian top secret Canadian research facilities. If the government of Canada doesn't allow, think about it like this. If the government of Canada doesn't allow Canadians to defend themselves, the government of Canada doesn't allow Canadian citizens to have guns to defend themselves, what kind of people are that? Think about it. Think about it like this. What kind of people these are the same people who run these top secret research facilities where they experiment on people's DNA and everything. They experiment on evolution. They experiment on people's brains. They experiment on people's blood. These are the exact same people, the government of Canada, which doesn't allow Canadians to have guns to defend themselves. Canada is being watched right now severely. I could not say what I'm saying right now 20 years ago. If I tried to say this, what I'm saying right now, if I tried saying this 20 years ago, I would be in Canadian prison. I would be in one of those Canadian research facilities. I would have disappeared if I tried saying this 20 years ago. But Canada, conservative Canadians, we have exposed Canada to the United States. We have sent the evidence to the White House. So now, because Trump turned around and said he wants to make Canada the 51st state, Trump and the Americans, they have been watching Canada now. They're literally waiting to make a move. They are waiting to make a move. We are on the cusp. Canada and the United States is on the cusp. The United States is on the cusp of making a move to take over Canada, and they're being watched. So this is why I have this freedom right now to say this stuff, is because Canada knows that they are literally like they got big problems. Canada, they got bigger problems than what I'm just saying right now. And a lot of what I'm saying, the United States government, they know already because we've told them. We've told the United States government. Why do you think Trump suddenly said he wants to make Canada the 51st state? So it's not like, oh, that Canada can just come take down my stream and then remove me. Because no, what I've said right now, everything I've said in this live stream, we have told this to the White House. We've told this to the government. We've told this to the United States. We've told this. We told this to Trump. Trump has all of this evidence. Trump has evidence of the top secret research facilities where they experiment on innocent people. Trump has the evidence of these transvestite school teachers. Trump has the evidence. Trump has all of this evidence. The White House has all of this evidence. And the United States, they're trying to critically to come up when the right time. They're trying to figure out when is the right time to strike, when is the right time to officially take Canada over. This will not be easy, especially with China. China is backing Canada. There's literally Chinese Canadian soldiers. Why would they wear different uniforms too? Like it's not like, oh, they're just Chinese Canadian soldiers. I have literally seen Chinese Chinese soldiers straight from communist China. Chinese soldiers straight from communist China doing training exercises with Canadian soldiers. Okay? They are ready. They are preparing for something big. So the White House, Trump, they already know. We've been telling them for years. Of course, people are going to go send the evidence to the White House, send copies of the evidence. There's probably top secret videos that were sent to Donald Trump showing these top secret research facilities, showing them these forests. I used to work for the government of Canada. People talk. People talk. I worked for the government of Canada. I have heard stories. I've talked to people. I've seen files. I've seen pictures of these top secret research facilities when I worked for the government of Canada. And then the government of Canada, they put up these fake stories. They say, cancer research. Oh, they're trying to save lives and do all of this special top secret cancer research, heart disease research, liver disease research. No, you know what they're really doing? They're experimenting on people. They are experimenting on people's brains. They're not trying to cure cancer. They're not trying to do all this stuff. They already know. They already have the cure for cancer. They've invested millions into finding. They already have that. They already have the cure for cancer. They don't want to cure cancer. They don't want the population to get bigger. They want people to die of cancer, these evil rich elites. These evil rich elites, they already had the cure for cancer years ago. But now, at first they were with all of these top secret research facilities, they were trying to say, oh, Canada is trying to find the cure for cancer. No, they already found the cure for cancer. These rich elites, they want people to die of cancer. They think the Earth's overpopulated. You know what's funny? You know which country especially thinks the Earth's overpopulated? The country that caused the overpopulation problem is the same country that is accusing that thinks the Earth's overpopulated and wants people to die of cancer. China. China has a population of like 2 billion. And then that's why China, they want people to die of cancer. They obviously China doesn't want Chinese people to die of cancer, but China wants other people around the world to die of cancer because China, the same country that caused the overpopulation problem by having a country of 2 billion, China, um, who thinks the world's overpopulated, China wants people to die of cancer. They want other people to die of cancer. Obviously, China doesn't want Chinese people to die of cancer, but China wants other people to die of cancer. They already have the cure for cancer. They already have these cures. They're not releasing them to the public because they want people to die of these stuff. And then what they're doing is they have these top secret research facilities where they try to lie and they try to say, oh, it's cancer research. No, it's not. They've already found the cure for cancer. They've already found the cure for these things. They don't want to give the cure for cancer. They don't want to give the cure for things. They want people to die. They think the Earth's overpopulated. And guess who overpopulated the Earth? China and India. And then these countries, they like, that's why they don't want to give the cure for cancer to like all these other countries. Why do you think that, what is Australia talking about? China. What is Britain talking about? China. What is Germany talking about? China. What is America talking about? China. What is Canada talking about? China. The, all of these countries are complaining about who? China. They're all doing it. They're all complaining. You hear, oh, Australian warship almost comes into battle with Chinese warship. Swedish warship almost comes into battle with Chinese warship. Canadian warship almost like Canadian warship goes and meets like Canadian warship working with the Chinese warship. See, that's another thing too. So I was about to say because Canada also, all of these Canadians who are saying that we're against China, that's BS. We are not. We are allies of China. We are allies of China. And then all of these people who are saying, oh, we're allies of the United States, we are not allies of the United States. Why is Donald Trump saying he wants to make Canada the 51st state? If we were allies of the United States, then why would Trump say he wants to make Canada the 51st state? Does that make sense to you? Is that how you talk to your allies? If Canada and the United States were really allies, then why would Trump be saying he wants to make Canada the 51st state? No, Trump's saying he wants to make Canada the 51st state because he knows that Canada is an ally of China. That's why. But China, see, they want to fool you. They try to deceive you. And China wants people to think that Canada and China are enemies. That's not true at all. Because that's how China deceives people, is by making everyone think that Canada and China are enemies. No. China is not threatening to make Canada the 51st state because China's already here. China already moved in. Trump is threatening to make Canada the 51st state because Trump's like, oh my God. Like he was seeing all this evidence like against Canada, all the stuff all the evil stuff they've been doing. That's why Trump's saying like they're literally like getting military, like they're preparing the military, America. They're literally preparing the military. And then China and Canada, they have their own military exercises. And then Canada and China pretend like they're enemies. They're not enemies. Okay? They're not. China doesn't allow Chinese citizens to have guns. Canada doesn't allow Canadian citizens to have guns. China has Chinese people everywhere. Canada has Chinese people everywhere. China is famous for not allowing free speech. Canada is famous for not allowing free speech. Donald Trump says he wants to make Canada the 51st state. Heck, everyone's complaining about China. Everyone, even India. Did you go watch those Gravitas news reports? They're complaining about China too. And it's amazing how like vocal they are. They're not even doing it slyly. They're not even doing it like casually, like, being very careful what they say. Like the Indians from India, if you go watch the Gravitas news reports, go watch Gravitas with Palka Sharmi. Go watch the Gravitas news reports. They openly like say call out China. They openly call out China. Like a lot of the stuff that I learned about China, oh my God, a lot of the evil stuff that China does that I learned about China, I learned it through Indian news channels, watching the Gravitas news report where they talk about China. So India is even complaining about China too. Like everyone's worried about China. And so China, right? You know what they do? They're not going, well, sometimes they are. We never really know for sure, right? Because they were not going to admit it on the news if they did. But, they're not openly, going and like gunning down people in the middle of streets, although they might be because we don't know for sure. We don't really know for sure what they're doing. But what the other things that China is doing, they are contaminating food products. They are contaminating products. There's whole documentaries about China and their manufactured products. Products manufactured in China contain harmful chemicals. Products manufactured in China contain harmful additives, harmful chemicals, causing birth defects, causing cancer among Americans, causing cancer among Canadians. Chinese products are like some of the most dangerous products you could use. And these Chinese products, the Chinese government knowingly makes these products unsafe, makes these problems with chemicals and harmful additives that cause cancer among Canadians, cause Americans and Canadians to become infertile. Why do you think so many American and Canadian couples are finding themselves to become infertile, not able to have kids? Why? Why are so many American and Canadian couples finding themselves to not be able to have kids to become infertile? Meanwhile, China and India, they have no problem having kids. They're like, because a lot of these Chinese products are full of added chemicals. They're full of harmful. There's a whole documentary done. I remember 15 years ago, there's a whole documentary about Chinese products, Chinese plastics having harmful chemicals. They cause birth defects. They cause low testosterone levels, like all of this side effects, all of this stuff.